Imagine this. You're standing on a hill, terrified, looking across a valley at an enemy army. But it's not really the army that's got you frozen. It's this one massive figure steps out, issues this impossible challenge, just paralyzes everyone. We're diving right into that exact scene today, looking purely at the text of 1 Samuel chapter 17.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that just feels epic, almost mythological, but the source presents it as a real event. And our goal here is simple. Stick to this chapter, see what it tells us about this confrontation.
Exactly. We want to unpack the details given in the text about this standoff. Goliath, David. Okay, let's get into it.
All right.
So the scene is the Valley of Elah. You've got the Philistines camped on one hill, Israelites on the opposite one. King Saul's leading them. Battle lines drawn, but, well, nothing's happening. It's a stalemate.
And the reason for that stalemate, laid out in really vivid detail in the text, is one guy from the Philistine side, Goliath.
From Gath.
From Gath, yeah, one of the main Philistine cities. And the description we get, well, it's clearly meant to convey someone who looks unbeatable. The text says he was over 9 feet tall.
Just pause on that. Over 9 feet. That's huge. Not just tall, it's enormous.
It really is. And his gear, it was just as intimidating. A bronze helmet, a coat of scale armor, also bronze, and the text even gives the weight. 5,000 shekels.
5,000 shekels. How much is that, roughly?
Potentially well over 100 pounds, maybe 125 pounds or more, just for the body armor.
Wow. A walking fortress.
Pretty much. Then bronze greaves on his legs, a bronze javelin slung on his back, and his spear. The shaft is described like a weaver's rod, thick, heavy wood.
Wow, okay.
And the iron point on that spear, 600 shekels just for the tip. Plus, he has a shield bearer walking ahead of him carrying the main shield. The source really hammers home his physical might and protection.
So he's not just big and scary looking. He steps out with a specific challenge, right?
A very specific and frankly terrifying challenge. He shouts across the valley to the Israelites, basically saying, "Why bother lining up the whole army? I'm a Philistine, you're Saul's servants. Pick one man, send him down to fight me."
Cutting right to it. Single combat.
Exactly. And he lays out the stakes super clearly. If he wins and kills me, we become your subjects. But if I win and kill him, you become our subjects and serve us.
He's boiling the whole war down to one jewel. Huge pressure. Then he throws in that taunt.
Yeah. "This day I defy the ranks of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." It's pure defiance, utter contempt.
And the Israelite reaction, including King Saul.
The text is blunt. On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Just terrified, frozen with fear.
And this wasn't just a one-off thing, right? The source mentions the duration.
Yes, and this is crucial. Goliath came out morning and evening, shouting the same challenge for 40 days.
40 days, wow.
40 days of this giant defying them, and the entire army too scared to move. Imagine the morale plummeting over a month of that constant fear.
Yeah, that constant presence, that daily dose of terror, it sets the stage perfectly for, something completely unexpected.
Which arrives in the form of David.
Right. While this is all going on, the text introduces David, son of Jesse from Bethlehem, the youngest of 8 sons.
And his 3 oldest brothers are actually there in Saul's army facing Goliath.
But David himself, he wasn't stationed there full time.
No, the source says he went back and forth. He'd be with Saul sometimes, but then he'd go back to Bethlehem to tend his father's sheep. So he's connected to the war, but his main job is shepherd.
So how does this shepherd boy wind up in the middle of all this fear?
His father, Jesse, sends him on an errand. Seems pretty normal, actually. Take some food roasted grain, 10 loaves of bread to your brothers at the camp.
Okay.
And also bring 10 cheeses for their commander. And crucially, Jesse tells him, "See how your brothers are and bring back some assurance from them. Basically, check if they're okay."
A food delivery and a wellness check. Not exactly standard military procedure.
Not at all. So David gets up early, leaves the sheep with someone else, loads up the supplies, and heads off. The text says he arrives just as the army is moving out to the battle lines, shouting the war cry.
Right into the action, or at least the morning ritual of facing Goliath.
Exactly. He drops off the food with the supply keeper and runs to the battle lines to find his brothers. And while he's there, talking to them,
guess who shows up?
Goliath steps out again from the Philistine ranks, shouting his usual defiance. And this time, David hears it.
He hears the challenge himself. And what about the soldiers around him after 40 days of this?
Still terrified. The text says when they saw Goliath again, they all ran from him in great fear. The fear is absolutely still there.
But David, his reaction is different. He starts asking questions.
Totally different. He hears the soldiers talking about the reward the king is offering to whoever kills Goliath.
Ah, the reward. What were they saying it was?
Pretty significant stuff. Great wealth, the king's daughter in marriage, and the man's whole family would be exempt from taxes in Israel.
That's quite an incentive package.
Yeah.
Money, status, freedom.
Definitely. And David, hearing the giant's challenge and then hearing about this reward, his immediate response is fascinating. He asks the men, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? And then the kicker, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?
There's no fear in that question, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Indignation, outrage. Oh.
Exactly. Like, how dare this guy challenge not just Israel, but Israel's God? The soldiers just repeat the reward details to him.
But his questions, this kind of talk,
Yeah.
it gets noticed, especially by his family.
Oh, yeah. His oldest brother, Eliab, hears him. And the text says Eliab burned with anger. He lays into David. Why have you come down here? Who did you leave those few sheep with? And then he accuses him straight up. I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle.
Basically calls him an arrogant thrill seeker.
Wow. Tough crowd, even his own brother. How does David handle that?
He seems to brush it off. Just says, now what have I done? Can't I even speak? He doesn't get into a big fight. He just turns away and keeps asking other soldiers the same questions about Goliath and the reward.
He's persistent.
Very. And his persistence works. Someone overhears what David's saying and reports it to King Saul.
And Saul, the terrified king, sends for this outspoken young man.
Sends for him immediately.
So the meeting happens. David and Saul. What does David say?
He gets straight to the point. Tells Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him.
Just like that, I'll handle it. What's Saul's reaction? He must be skeptical.
Totally skeptical. Saul points out the obvious. You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a boy, and he has been a fighting man from his youth. It's just common sense experience, size. It's a mismatch. But David's argument, this is where it gets really unexpected, right? He doesn't talk about fighting skills. He talks about sheep.
Exactly.
Right.
He uses his experience as a shepherd as his credentials. He tells Saul, look, when I was keeping my father's sheep, sometimes a lion or a bear would come and grab one.
Okay.
And, he says, I went after it, I struck it, I rescued the sheep from its mouth. If it turned on me, I grabbed it by its hair, struck it, and killed it.
He's basically saying, I've fought off lions and bears to protect sheep. This giant is just another predator.
That's precisely the connection he makes. He tells Saul, your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. He puts Goliath in the same category, a dangerous threat defying God, as the wild animals he's already faced.
And, crucially, he explains how he believes he won those fights. It wasn't just him.
Right. He makes his faith explicit. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. He gives God the credit for the past victories and trusts God for the upcoming one.
And this argument, shepherd versus predators, powered by faith, this actually convinces Saul.
It seems to. According to the text, Saul just says, go and the Lord be with you. He gives his blessing.
Okay, so David gets the green light, now for preparation. And Saul tries to help in the conventional way.
Yeah, Saul dresses David in his own royal gear, a tunic, his coat of armor, a bronze helmet, has him strap on his sword, the works.
The king's armor. But David...
He tries walking in it, but it's just not right. He tells Saul, I cannot go in these because I am not used to them. It's unfamiliar, cumbersome, so he takes it all off.
He rejects the standard military solution, even the king's own armor. So what does he take? This is the iconic part.
It really is. He takes his shepherd's staff, he goes down to the stream, picks out 5 smooth stones, and puts them in his shepherd's bag. And he takes his sling. That's it. His everyday tools.
Staff, stones, bag, sling, against the 9-foot armored giant with his spear like a weaver's rod.
Exactly. And as David approaches, Goliath and his shield bearer come towards him. What's Goliath's take when he sees who Israel sent? Pure contempt. The text says he looked David over, saw he was just a boy, ruddy and handsome, and despised him. This wasn't a warrior, this was an insult.
Like, you're sending this kid.
Precisely. He sneers. Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Meaning David's staff. He curses David by his Philistine gods, and then the threat, come here and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals.
Horrifying. But David's reply isn't fearful, is it? It mirrors what he told Saul.
It does. He fires back. You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied.
He names his authority and points out Goliath's real crime, defying God.
And again, he predicts the outcome not based on his sling, but on God's action. Absolutely. He declares, "This day the Lord will hand you over to me. I'll strike you down and cut off your head." He even says he'll give the Philistine carcasses to the birds and beasts. And the purpose. So the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel.
He's framing this as a global demonstration of God's power.
Completely. And he adds that final point. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. It's God's fight, God's victory, not about the weapons.
Okay, speeches are done. Goliath starts moving closer to attack. What does David do?
Something unexpected. As Goliath advances, David doesn't wait. He doesn't back up. He runs quickly toward the battle line to meet him.
Runs towards the giant.
Runs towards him. Then very quickly reaches into his bag, takes out a stone, slings it, and hits Goliath right on the forehead.
Bang.
The stone sinks in and Goliath just collapses, face down on the ground.
One shot. But the text says David makes sure the job is done.
Yeah, he runs over, stands over the fallen giant, pulls Goliath's own massive sword from its sheath, and uses it to kill him and cut off his head. Uses the enemy's weapon against him.
Incredible. And the Philistines watching this, their unbeatable champion.
When they see their hero is dead, they just panic. The text says they turned and ran. The fight goes right out of them.
Which flips the whole situation for the Israelites.
Instantly. Seeing the Philistines run, the men of Israel and Judah let out a war cry and surged forward. They chased the Philistines all the way back towards their cities, Gath and Ekron, cutting them down along the way.
From paralyzed terror to routing the enemy, what a swing.
Total reversal. Then the Israelites come back and plunder the abandoned Philistine camp. The whole conflict, at least for that day, decided by that one duel.
And the source adds a couple of final details about David.
Yes, it says David took Goliath's head to Jerusalem, which is interesting, as Jerusalem wasn't fully Israelite territory yet, and put Goliath's weapons in his own tent. There's also that final bit where Saul, maybe still trying to process it all, asks his commander Abner, whose son is this young man. Abner brings David, still holding Goliath's head, to Saul, and David identifies himself. "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem."
What a chapter. Stepping back from just the narrative flow, looking at how the text presents this, what stands out from just 1 Samuel 17?
Well, the contrast is just so deliberate, isn't it? Goliath, the immense height, the bronze armor meticulously weighed and described, the huge spear, the shield bearer. It's all about conventional, overwhelming physical power and military tech.
The text really leans into making him seem unbeatable by normal standards, which just highlights David's approach.
Exactly. David rejects the conventional armor because it's not his way. He uses his shepherd tools. His preparation wasn't boot camp, it was fighting lions and bears. And he saw those encounters, as he told Saul, as proof of God's deliverance, building his faith.
Yeah, his confidence seems rooted in that lived experience of God's help.
Right. And notice how he consistently frames the fight. It's not my skill versus size. It's Goliath defied God, and this is God's battle. He minimizes his own role and maximizes God's power. Victory comes not by sword or spear.
And looking just within this chapter, that single combat, won through faith and unconventional means, totally shatters the stalemate and flips the momentum of the war.
The vivid details, the 9-foot giant, the 100+ pounds of armor versus 5 smooth stones, they really amplify the sheer scale of the challenge and just how stunning the outcome described is.
So thinking about this account, just from this one chapter, what does it make you think about facing seemingly impossible odds? About where strength really comes from?
It definitely makes you question what we consider strength or preparation, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that moment where David takes off Saul's armor, saying, "I'm not used to this," picks up his sling. How does that picture rejecting the standard strengths, relying on familiar tools and deep conviction, how does that speak to maybe finding power in our own unique, perhaps unexpected ways when facing something huge, something to mull over?